Hi everybody, thanks for stopping by Storm Morning's open house today, July 21st, 2010. You know those two video clips you just saw? They were taken 2 years apart. And that's how long it's taken my wife and I to build our altered wheelbase Nova Storm Morning. So we're going to have a little open house today. Storm Morning's been on the road a few months. We've got it pretty well tweaked in. We want to show you some odds and ends and how it's built, what's under the hood, and how we put it together, and give you a little tour of Storm Morning. We hope you like it, so let's get started. My wife Pat and I bought our Nova in February of 2002. It was actually Pat's car. She wanted a new car since her Ford Explorer was just about there. It had 125,000 miles and we knew we were going to have some problems with it in the future. So Pat wanted a 65 Nova. Well, we bought it at the Pomona swap meet in Southern California. And it was a 283, two-barrel, not an SS. And we drove the car. I guess we put about 9,000 miles on it in 6 years. And we had a lot of fun with it. But then, well, I turned 16 in 1963, and I remember these altered wheelbase cars running at Cecil County, Maryland, and Maple Grove, York US 30, Atco, New Jersey, Percy. We had plenty of drag strips back in those days, and I always was partial to these cars because I used to like the stock classes. I wasn't that big into the fuel cars. I couldn't quite understand them when I was 16. I had enough trouble understanding these cars. But these were, to me, were stockers on steroids. And they just looked stock, but again, they looked funny because of the alterations. Now you can tell on Storm Morning, we moved the rear axle forward 9 inches. We actually moved the body section forward 12 inches. And then we moved the axle forward 9 inches. That's because we had to fit a 30-inch tire in that space in the rear, and we didn't want to tub it. In the front, we went ahead and had Nicky Chicago extend their subframe, which is really kind of neat. We'll show you that when we pull the hood off. They extended that by 4 inches. So our actual wheelbase is 105 inches down from the stock of 110. These were, folks, as you probably know, or may not know, these were actually known as the first funny cars because they look stock, but man, they sure look funny. Now, we've had Storm Morning on the road for about 3 months now. If you followed our website, you've seen all our trials and tribulations getting it broken in. But it's on the road. We've got over 500 miles on it. Let's take a peek on the interior, and we'll show you what we've done in there. Now, everything we did with Storm Morning, we tried to do period correct, like they did back in the day. And you'll notice on the inside we're using A100 Dodge van seats from about 1964. They're called Bostrom. They were made by Bostrom, and they were very light. Ford used them in their Thunderbolts also in 1964. Dodge and Plymouth used them in their A990s in 65 in the race Hemis. You notice we also have some Hemi seat brackets, the aluminum seat brackets. Excuse me, had to go with those. And we're running a Golf vintage fire extinguisher. Not really, that's a new one with a Golf sticker on it. But we do have the radio delete, and fortunately the car came with a clock delete. That's an original Suntac up there. That's not one of the new reproduction ones. And we have the cigarette lighter delete, and I kind of made those buttons for the heater delete. I do have a factory heater delete. I just haven't gotten in there yet. Here, let me show you something real quick. Presto! The door opens, and you'll see who signed our glove box back on April 25th. Vic Edelbrock. We were really pleased. Heck of a nice guy. And he likes Stormy too. We've got the rubber vinyl mats in on the floor to save weight, and of course there is no back seat in Storm Morning. That got taken out when we took the 12 inches out and moved the rear axle up. You can see inside we did not tub the rear wheels. We sectioned the stock wheel wells. Dale Snoke at the Snoke's metal shed in Pomona, California added about 1 7/8 inches, I think, almost 2 inches to the wheel housing, so we didn't want the big aluminum tubs. We wanted to look like it was. Excuse the mess, this is still a work in process. Pat has it all covered now in the back with hush mat. That is a steel bulkhead, because we do have our battery located in the trunk, which I'll show you, and our period 4-point roll bar. I hope we never need it. And for right now, we're using the stock door panels that came with the car. We cut them down, of course, to fit around the wheel wells, and those windows won't go down again because the tires are, of course, right underneath them. But we cut them and are using the stock panels for now. We will be doing everything again in black. I'm not sure when we're actually going to do the interior, when we do the paint. Pat is in no hurry to do the paint right now. She says, hey, we've been building this thing for 2 years, so let's take it out and have a little bit of fun with it before we take it all apart again for paint. Well, let's, before we go back and look at the trunk, let's take a look here at the side panel, and you can see where the alterations took place. There's the 12-inch section back here that we actually cut out of the car up front, and then Dale slid the whole axle assembly, body assembly forward and welded it all together. Sounds pretty simple, huh? Not really. It's took a heck of a lot of planning. But hang on a second, and we'll go inside and take a look at the trunk. Well, you can see here you have a pretty big sized trunk. If you'd like to go on that vacation to Palm Springs, I don't think Nova made them this large from the factory. You can see the 12-inch piece that Dale welded in. He was able to get a stock floor pan and weld it in. So it kind of looks original. And that's our steel bulkhead back there underneath. And here's our Mopar super stock battery. Actually weighs about 85 pounds, 90 pounds. And with our remote starter solenoid switch in the front, and in between is the Flaming River on-off switch, the master disconnect. And so we've got plenty of room back here in the trunk, and it's really not that loud. We don't get a lot of rattling going on. I think Dale did it up pretty tight. Now hang on, and we'll be right back. One last thing I wanted to mention about storm warning before we take a look under the hood is our wheelie bars. They're actually the leaf springs that were originally on the car, and they've been cut in half, and we found up at Dale's shop in Pomona some basically dumpster wheels, 6x2s. Look like they have a little road rash on them, perfect for the car. And they are adjustable. They will go up and down. We'll show you that a little bit later too when we take a peek underneath. So hang on a second, and we'll take a look. We'll pull the hood and see what's a poppin' 396 wise under there. Hang on. Hey everybody, we just realized that this open house is so big we're going to have to make it a two-parter. So thanks for watching part 1. Now please go back to YouTube, find part 2, where we cover the engine, drivetrain, suspension. We're going to do another final walk around, look at the tires, things like our parachute and our delete lights, and we'll introduce you to Team Stormy's Hall of Fame, the folks that we could not have done this without. See you in part 2. Part 2.